Okay, I'm now going to show you how to set up your Taranis and bind it to the quad, so to this X4R receiver that I have here. And to do this, I took off the top plate, removed the 6 screws, didn't unplug anything, but you can actually do this without. You should be able to access the one button that you need to press without taking off the top plate, which is this button right here. So before we do that though, let's go ahead and get out our Taranis. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn on
Welcome to OpenTX.
the Taranis, and we're going to hit Menu and scroll down to an open spot. You might have spot 1 open, and when we're on an open spot, we're going to hold down Enter and then press Enter again to create the model. And we're going to press this minus key to scroll on over to the quadcopter and press Enter. And then we're just going to page through all this, leave the default settings for now, and then long Enter to confirm. And so now we have this model here. So we're going to press page and press this minus key to scroll down, and we want to switch over to 16 channels since that's what S-Bus supports, which is one of the benefits of here. So we're going to change this. Actually, let me scroll up and scroll. There you go. So you can see it a little bit better. Now we're on this 8. So I'm going to go ahead and press the Enter and go up to 16 and press Enter. So now we're ready to bind. So let's go ahead and hit Enter, and our controller will start making an annoying noise and it'll be flashing. So it's waiting for a quad to bind to, and this part's a little bit tricky. We need to be holding down this button while we plug in our battery. So I'm going to go ahead and first get this battery connection into position, but not actually do a connection. And then I'm going to hold down the button, get a good grip on it, and slide this, connect the battery up. And so that should be green while flashing, and so I can go ahead and let go of the button while the battery is still connected. And then I can come to the controller here and hit Enter. I can then power down the quad and power down the transmitter. Now, if I plug in the battery, it'll have a red flashing light, meaning it doesn't have a connection. And then I can power on my transmitter. Hit exit here. And now I have the green, meaning that this is bound. And if I unplug it,
telemetry lost.
My Taranis is going to tell me that I've lost connection, which is exactly what we want. And so there we go, we have a bound quad. Okay, there's a couple more things we need to set up on our transmitter, so let's go ahead and turn it on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And press exit. So the only really critical thing that we need is to set up an arm switch. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's press Menu, Page, 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 Page until we get to Mixer. So we'll have channel 5 be our arm switch. So down to channel 5, Enter. Then down to the source, Enter. And I like this switch being my arm switch When it's down, it's armed. When it's up, it's disarmed. That way it's really easy to disarm my quad when it crashes or if I lose control. So we can go ahead, we just need to flip that up and then down. And then you'll notice that SF, which was that switch, is now the source. Press enter, exit, exit. And now let's go ahead and set up our flight mode switch, which will be on channel 6. So enter, and then down again, select the source again, press enter. And I like that being the SD switch, so flip it down, flip it up, and you'll notice it says SD. So there we go. And we'll connect this on the computer. So let's press exit, exit, and exit, exit. So two more things I like to set up. One is timers. So let's press menu, page, and it's on this model setup screen. So down, down, enter, enter, and the first timer I like just being a normal, just count up anytime the throttle's up, just so I can kind of get a feel for how long my flight was. And we'll just have that start at 0 and count up. So press exit, and then let's go down to timer 2. And so enter, enter. This one will be a throttle percentage, which will be used to determine when we should land. And I found with this quad that 1 minute and 30 seconds is pretty ideal, regardless if you're carrying a recording camera or not, 4S or 3S battery. All those size and weights kind of even out to be 1 minute and 30 seconds of throttle percentage. And so that throttle percentage, if it's at 50% throttle, it's only going to go up, it's only going to count up 1 second every 2 seconds. But if you're at 100%, it's going to count up 1 second every 1 second. So it kind of does a percentage of the throttle, which usually gives a pretty good job of how much battery you've used. And so I've done just a quick test with those different batteries, different setups on this specific build, and 130 seems about right. You should also be checking your batteries though, just in case. So I pressed exit, down, and down, down, and the countdown I want on not silent, I want it on beeps. So enter, and there we go. And one thing while we're here, let's go all the way down back to the bind. And below bind is failsafe mode. Let's go ahead and set this to receiver. It's actually just going to be taken care of by our flight controller, but this will get rid of that warning. So there's one more thing I like to do, and that is set up a switch to reset our timers. So I'm just going to press page, 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 just keep paging until we get to special functions. So press enter again, and this special function we want to be derived by SA. So down, we want to leave this in the middle, because that's what I want the middle to be a reset. So press enter, and then after I've pressed enter, I can flip it back up to its natural position. So let's go down and enter, and we don't want this to override, we want this to be a reset. Enter, and we could do just timer 1, but I want to actually do all the timers. So if I hit enter, up, up, do flight, enter, down, and then I have to check this box, enter. And now I can hit exit, exit, and our controller is now set up. You'll notice that there's timers now here. If we flip this SA switch, now those timers are reset. If we put our throttle at 50%, you'll notice the normal timer is counting up normally, but the throttle percentage timer is counting up slower. Put the throttle all the way up. Notice that they're counting up at the same time. And so this will start beeping when it's low and kind of give you warnings to know, hey, you should think about landing soon so you don't over drain your battery. And so let's go ahead and put the throttle down, flip this to the middle, flip it back up, and we are all ready to go with our transmitter. Okay, I am now going to show you how to set up RaceFlight One. So if we go to raceflight.net/rf1 beta, we'll get to this site, which has instructions here, but I'll go ahead and walk you through them. So first, download the firmware, revolt159.bin. And to flash that, we actually need the old configurator. So if we search for RaceFlight configurator on Google, it should be the first option here. And let's go ahead and click Add to Chrome, Add App. And now this will take a little bit of time to download. Okay. Opens up to the apps page. Let's go ahead and click RaceFlight in full screen. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is get it in DFU mode. So we're going to plug in our USB into our flight controller and connect it to our computer. And then click Connect. If for some reason that doesn't connect, look at the instructions on setting up the correct drivers. So to get in DFU mode, click on DFU mode, and then click Disconnect. And it actually didn't switch screens, which is odd, but it should say at the top, please use the flasher to access DFU devices. So just close down RaceFlight, and let's launch RaceFlight again. And now you'll notice up here we are in DFU mode, which is what we need. So go to the firmware flasher, load firmware, and we just downloaded it. So in our downloads, the revolt195.bin, and click flash. And so it'll do the erase and then the flash. This will take a little bit of time to complete. Okay, and we should see a RaceFlight One up here now. And we are all done with this old configurator. So we can go back to the instructions. Now we can go ahead and download the appropriate client. For me, it's Windows 64-bit. And this will be RaceFlight One configurator. And this will take a little bit of time to download. Okay, now that this is downloaded, we can right-click here and show in folder, and then extract all. Extract. This might take a little bit. Okay, now we can open up this folder and scroll down and open RaceFlight configurator.exe. For me, this took a long time to open. Okay. Since I was already connected to, I had my quad plugged in, it pulled it right up. So let's go ahead and set up the flight controller. So place quad flat. And that's how my quad is currently facing, so I'm going to click Next. And now point the nose towards the ground, like in the picture, click Next. And we are done with that step. On to step number 2. So let's go ahead, detect radio. So turn on the radio.
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning.
Make sure all the switches are in the right spot. And I'm going to verify that the green light on my receiver is showing up and click Next. And this will take a minute. And we are done. Okay, let's set up the radio. So we're going to go ahead and just move the sticks around. So let's click Next. It says move the sticks around. Let's make sure we get the high and low point for all the sticks. Get everywhere, do a few circles or squares, whatever they are, and then place the throttle all the way down and just let the sticks, the other sticks, stick center, and click OK. Put the throttle to the top, throttle to the right, pitch up, roll to the right, just as the picture showed. Disarm, I want the SF switch up to be my disarm. So that's really easy to hit to kill it. And then arm, so I'll push the SF switch down. And we are done with that step. Okay, now we need to update the ESCs. So remove the props. Yep, props are removed, and connect the battery. So let's go ahead and connect the battery. And click Next. And this will take a minute. Okay, they made a tone. Scroll down, and done. Okay, let's calibrate our motors. So I've removed the props. Yep, props are the same. And disconnect the battery. So let's go ahead and unplug. Just the battery. Leave the USB. Next. So plug in the battery and wait for all the ESCs to finish their tone. So plugging back in. Okay, click OK. And done. Okay, and on to fix motor direction and idle. So I've removed the props and connected the battery. Yes, the battery's connected still. And the props are still removed. So check if all the motors are spinning. Okay, tone's finished. And we actually don't need to change our motors since we did the crossover, but apparently that wasn't overly important because you can easily switch their directions. But let's go ahead and start up the motors to verify. Okay, and you can kind of touch them or use a piece of paper to see that they're going in the right direction. They are for me. And we are done. And so if you take out your transmitter, you can actually verify if you flip to disarm. You'll notice it goes up here, and then arm goes over here. And if your battery's still plugged in, you would have armed your quad. If it doesn't arm, you actually have to go from the arm to disarm to arm again in a fairly fast. So just flip off and on your arm switch to actually arm. But we're going to add in one more mode. which is self-leveling mode, to switch between it and rate. And we set that up on channel 6. And we can go ahead and slide this over here and this over here. And now in the default position, it'll be in self-leveling mode. And in the middle position, same thing, but at the bottom, you'll have access to rate mode. And that's everything we have to set up. So let's hit save. And we could go to this PID tuning and adjust rates. We could set rates to make your quad pitch or yaw faster, but let's give the default a try first. One final thing we should do before we take out this quad on its first flight is verify the failsafe. And that should have, so to verify your failsafe, what you want to do is have your quad, transmitters on, plug in the battery, okay, and just to show you how to arm it, so this is actually in the arm position, so I need to flip down, flip up, flip down, flip up is what it takes to do the first arm. And so I flip it up to unarm, and now if I flip it down, it'll just take that one. So to verify the failsafe, I'm going to go ahead and arm this. I'm just going to give it a little bit of throttle, and now I'm going to turn off my transmitter. And so a failsafe, it should kill the motors, so that means if for any reason we lose connection with the quad, it'll just drop out of the sky, which is generally the safest thing.